so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Thoughts for Rent, Realtors Keeping It Real. I am Ireland and with me is
Jenni McKenna, keeping it real, baby.
And Jenny always likes to say owner broker, McKenna Property Management.
I'm
and
the
she always likes
owner
to
broker.
say Jenni McKenna, previous ice skater and mom and marathon runner. So there's a lot of things that Jenny does. And I feel like there's a lot of things that I do. I like to sing, I like to dance, I like to watch movies. But today we're going to talk about a couple of things that Jenny and I don't do.
That we are not under the umbrella of property management. Lately, we have been getting a lot of people that have been just asking us to do things that it's not our job. And it's really hard because we value customer service at McKenna Property Management. And so when they ask me to do something, I want to people please, right? But man, some of this stuff is just not us. It's not what we do, guys.
And we definitely advertise that we are a full service property management company. And I do genuinely believe that we are a full service property management company. But I think people take that concept of full service and then expect things that even a property manager shouldn't do.
Yeah.
So we are a full service property management company and we provide you full service as to what a property manager should do.
Yes.
But there are some things that are still going to be affiliated with your house that don't necessarily fall into the property manager category.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that today.
We're going to talk about what we are not. That is the big theme of this podcast, what we are not. And I'll tell you right now what we are not, Ireland. We are not a home inspector. Now, I bring this up because just a couple weeks ago, we put a property on the market. We walked the property. We told the owner, we gave him a big list of everything that needed to get done to get the property to look good for the market, to attract a tenant so that we could get an application. We secured the resident into the property. At McKenna Property Management, the resident does have a 30 days assessment form to fill out. Resident was great, waited the 30 days, filled out their form, and there was probably about 7-8 things that they found in the property that they felt like needed to be fixed, or at the least, let the owner know that they didn't do this damage, right? I thought, no brainer. I'll call the owner, let the owner know, boom, 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 needs to get done.
I'm pretty sure like one of those things was an irrigation line and like the property had been vacant for a couple of months. So it's like, oh, irrigation line, we got to fix the leak.
Yeah. So I'm thinking this is going to be an easy phone call. Granted, I should have had a little heads up because 2 team members had been emailing the owner, and from the responses from the email, I should have got the hint. But anyways, I called the owner because that's what I do. I get on the phone. Hey, we got these things. How do you want me to handle it? Pretty easy. Like one of them was a paver that just kind of got a little out of line and it became a tripping hazard and it needs to get fixed. Do you know the owner says to me, you should have caught that. That should have been done before they moved into the property. You gave me a big list of everything that needed to be done, which we did. And why didn't you catch these things? You know, one of the other things that I supposedly should have caught, they have a bar where you hang your clothes. When the resident hung their first set of clothes, it fell down. Now, how the heck am I supposed to know that?
Yeah.
Right?
I've heard owners ask you, like, I've had stories where owners have said, just run a load of laundry to like test. It's like, so you want me to run a load of laundry, maybe bake a pizza in the oven, maybe make some popcorn in the microwave, like
run the dishwasher, but make sure you stay for the whole cycle so that there's no possible leaking. No, we can't do that, guys. And so what I like to say is we are not home inspectors.
Because keep in mind, home inspectors are licensed, just like how property managers are licensed, just like how realtors are licensed. Just like how loan officers are licensed, there's different licensing for the different categories. Yes, they all cohesively exist together within the same industry, but you wouldn't get your hair done by a lash lady and you wouldn't get your nails done by a hairstylist.
Yes.
So if you want a home inspection, find someone who's licensed. Now, pay the $500 for a
Mhm.
home inspection, but it's a different licensing altogether.
And I don't think a home inspection is actually necessary when you're putting your property on the market for rent. Because when we do that walkthrough and we're looking at all the cosmetic things, we're going to get the house to show beautifully. We're going to get the application in. And then guess what, Ireland? When the resident moves into the property and money's actually coming in on rent, and they find out that they baked their pizza and it wasn't at the proper temperature in the stove, then let them tell us what the problems are. I don't want to go out and find the problems when there's no rent coming in.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Let me just do what needs to be done to get the property on the market for rent to get the applications. And then if something's not working when the resident moves in, they are definitely going to let us know. Let them become like the home inspector. Yeah, so that conversation, needless to say, did not go well at all. So we're parting ways with that owner. Yeah, we're going to allow him to go find another property management company.
He's going to find a home inspector that's going to collect rent for him.
Yeah, yeah.
They're the same thing,
I guess. And it's really frustrating because as you're having this conversation and the owner is in their mind, obviously their perception is the reality, and I'm not going to change that. In his mind, he really believed that when we told him our list of things to get done, I guess nothing was allowed to get broken that point forward, which is, again, not realistic in the property management world. Yeah. So what's another thing that we are not, Ireland?
We are not insurance adjusters.
What? Are you kidding me?
I know. I hate to break the news, but we are not claims adjusters.
So I don't have broker owner / claims adjuster on my title?
No, you do not.
All right. Tell us a little bit about why you're saying that.
We are saying that because obviously there are going to be some repairs that might involve creating a claim. Really big ones, mold, big leaks, huge floods, things of that nature. You're going to have to get your homeowner's insurance involved. And I get a lot of owners asking questions of, when do I get my money? When is this going to be approved? How much is going to be covered under the claim? What's my deductible? I have had owners asking me what their homeowner's insurance deductible is. We are more than happy to help. Part of the full service with property management is communication and like working with your claims adjuster and working with your insurance. But I do not know what your deductible is. I do not know what your plan covers. And I don't know how much of it is going to get approved. I don't know how much of a check they're going to write you. That is all questions for your homeowner's insurance. What we can assist with is as long as you give us permission, we can create the claim on your behalf, and we can make sure we find a good insurance vendor who works with insurances. And we can also make sure that we submit all the photos and all the estimates and all the invoices. But past that, any questions that you have about your coverage or what's happening or how long it's taking or when you're going to get paid, that is all for your homeowner's insurance. That is all for your adjuster to tell you because they know your plan.
I think we get pulled into that so often because our owners don't get good answers from their insurance companies. That's my philosophy. My thought is they're so used to call McKenna Property Management, they'll get the answer. If they don't have the answer now, they'll get it soon. And we have an easy way of communicating. They can communicate email, they can communicate via phone. I mean, we've made that part of what our company is good communication. So the minute they go outside of McKenna, now all of a sudden they want us to solve those problems of their insurance agent being bad communicators. Yeah. And there's one, we had one that just recently that finally closed, like all the work got done, but it was a 3-story building condo. Yeah. The upstairs sprinkler system started going off and wouldn't stop.
And it wasn't the personal unit sprinkler systems, it was like the hallway and the public sprinkler system.
The building.
So it was the building's responsibility.
It was complete destruction.
Yeah.
And we were the middle unit in between, and everything had to be rebuilt. But because you're dealing with an HOA, it makes it even trickier because everything has to be to the satisfaction of the HOA. I cannot tell you how many phone calls, emails we got asking questions about things that were HOA issues.
Yeah.
Questions about how much money are they going to get, questions about what is actually going to get taken care of. And then to like add insult to injury, I guess is what I can say, I was the one that picked everything out. I actually got suckered into picking out the cabinets, the countertop, the appliances, and everything. But that's not me. That's not what I should. I'm not an interior designer either. So if this is your unit and it got destroyed, I think that you should be the one that fixes it up.
And in that same example, again, just circling back to the idea that we are full service, we needed to send out the vendor to get the rebuild estimate, and I was reaching out to multiple vendors who kept turning me down, saying that they don't have the licensing to work on 3-story buildings. So I had to find somebody who was going to be good with insurance and worked on 3-story buildings. I did that because we are a full service property management company. So there were still things throughout that where we did participate and we were doing the things that were necessary, and we're never going to leave an owner hanging. But we also have no idea when the HOA is going to write the check to pay the insurance bill. That is a question for the HOA. I'm happy to ask it on your behalf, but the answer is they never responded to me, which is about half of the responses I got. That's where that line comes into play.
And that's where we get a lot of the blunt and the frustration. I guess blunt's not the right word. We get a lot of the frustration from the owner because, again, they're not getting any answers from anyone else. So they come to us frustrated and want us to fix it. And we're going to do everything we can to fix it. I mean, I picked out the cabinets. I picked out the countertops. I did a darn good job, by the way.
We met with the HOA board.
Exactly.
So
we did it. It's just, I guess what I'm trying.
The answers cannot come from us sometimes.
I'm just more or less saying we are not the insurance.
Yes.
We are not the insurance adjuster, and we certainly don't know your insurance coverage. So I think that's kind of the biggest point that on the what we are not. All right. So what's another one that we are not?
We are not, kind of looping in the previous job that we just talked about. We are not your HOA board of directors. And we are not your HOA management team, unfortunately. I feel like this is also sometimes a good one for residents to hear too.
Yes.
Because we will both have residents and owners call in, and kind of in the very beginning when they're still getting used to everything, they'll say, "Why did you issue a violation on my property?" And we're like, "What are you talking about? We didn't issue a violation." And then they send a violation from the HOA, and we have to walk them through. Your HOA management company, we work in tandem with them, but we have no affiliation with them. They're a completely separate company. They're sending you completely separate invoices or separate charges. Again, we'll help you close out the violation and we'll help you correct those issues, but we are not the ones giving you those violations.
We are not the HOA. And then that comes down to great example from there, but I just got a really horrible story that I'll share, which is great owner, has always paid his HOA on time. He does it as an auto pay, but for some reason, the HOA raised their assessments, which is very common in Las Vegas, especially lately. They raised their assessment, and this particular owner did not pay attention or didn't know it. I mean, if you hear his claim, he was never given any information on it. Whatever it is, he just didn't know. So month after month after month, he was not making his HOA payment in full. Well, that then becomes fines. That becomes then a collection. And then they send it to an attorney, which has a bunch of costs. Long story short, $1,800 over and above the little bit that he was short on every month on his HOA. He was furious with us. Furious with us. I still can't understand why anyone believes that we have control over the accounting of the HOA. When the HOA assessments go up, why we're supposed to know when you're behind on your HOA, and when the collection gets sent, why all of a sudden is it our fault and we need to fix it?
Yeah.
That one was a little bit of a shocker for me.
Especially because if you are paying the HOA dues yourself, there again is just no connection. There's no reason for the HOA to be contacting us. There's no reason for the HOA to be sending us anything. And also, a lot of HOAs have gone digital, and so you have your own personal owner account for
Or like
HOAs or
a portal that they can go to.
And we do not have your password and your email for that portal, and we're not getting those notifications for those portal. That's, I think that that's kind of the equivalent of getting mad at someone's grandma because your resident didn't pay their rent. The grandma has no idea what their rent is or how much. So it's very much, again, I think real estate and housing and all of that, it's a really big family. Everything works cohesively and congruently together. But you got your mom, you got your dad, they're all different. They're all different sections of real estate. They all work together, but they all do separate tasks. The HOA and property management work together, but they are so separate. And your payments to them are so separate, and your violations are so separate. It's all different.
And I think we get bundled up into owner being frustrated, not getting good answers from the HOA. And so what do? They call us because we're available, and they're like, fix it. I don't know how to fix it. I am not your HOA. So that's one. The other one is I am not your tenant.
Well,
that's a crazy one, right? I am not your resident, which the reason I say it is when a resident is late with their rent, the very first thing the owner asks is, why?
Yeah.
Why did they not pay? Well, I don't know. How come I don't know? I'm reporting to you that we don't have rent for your property. We're going to do all the proper procedures to make sure that we serve the 7-day. And if they don't pay, then we're going to serve the 24. We're going to go to court if we need to. We're going to do all of that. But for me to get into the head of the resident to find out what is going on, I don't know. Tell me a little bit about you, how you feel. You take more calls than I do on that.
I absolutely feel that way. My biggest takeaway for that is one of the reasons you hire a property management company is you want to take the emotion out of it. You want to keep it business oriented. You don't want to take personalities into it. You want to keep everything unbiased and straightforward, and you want to honor the contract. And a lot of owners will reach out and say, why didn't they pay rent? And I'll say, I'm not sure, but if you want, I can reach out. I can see if they're interested in divulging that private information. And any owner that usually says yes, when I do that reach out asking, 9 times out of 10, their mom died, their dad died, they were in Florida for a funeral, they just lost their job, they were in the hospital for a week.
But a lot of times they have 2 or 3 moms, we realize, because it's lies. It's really pretty much lies.
It's either lies or it is the truth, and the truth is a little sad. And so bringing that truth back to the owner, you're now bringing that bias, and you're now bringing that emotion, and you're graying those lines of keeping it professional. And so my advice to owners is, I understand that we might want to know what's going on, but sometimes that's going to get in the way of honoring the contract. We just had an owner who wanted to know why was getting complaints from a neighbor, and they swore up and down that this resident was just the worst resident in the world, and they demanded that they walk through the house. So we gave proper notice and we performed a site evaluation. It was the most beautiful, most clean house I've ever seen in my entire life.
I know.
And it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing to walk through this home after they kicked and screamed saying that these were the worst people ever, and it was one of the cleanest homes I've ever been in.
And very respectful.
Very respectful. Yeah. They weren't even home for the evaluation. They gave us access to walk the property without them being present. They were responding to us. They've never been late on rent, but these owners were just absolutely determined that these people were horrible because of something that their neighbors were saying, and they blurred those lines, and it didn't. Those neighbors, I think, were wrong, and I think that they grayed the lines of professionalism and they messed with the boundaries. And as a result, it absolutely affected the relationship between them and the resident.
And with a fantastic resident paying rent on time, that resident is not going to stay there and they're going to move. And so we're going to have a vacancy. And who knows if the next person, that moves in is going to be as good as what that particular resident is.
And if the resident will never avoid and will never ignore red flags, we'll always, bring them into consideration. But sometimes it is also, if they pay on time, if they're putting in reports on time, if the site evaluation comes back positive, just honor the contract. Don't ask these inner questions of why.
Yeah.
I had a neighbor reported that somebody's car got their window smashed. And they were like, why? I had to reach out to the resident. And then the resident said, I got into a huge fight with my boyfriend and he smashed my car, but the house is fine. And it's like, why did you want to know about their car? So
I get that they want to know.
Yes.
But the outcome of knowing does not have a good next step.
Yes.
There's not a good next step after knowing. So what I always like to say is we are not therapists.
Yes. We're not therapists.
We're not
detectives.
No. And we're not police. We don't need to know all the details of why the window got smashed. We don't need to know that there was a fight, that occurred or that, whatever's going on. What we care about is the property. And when somebody's not paying rent, we're going to either get them to pay rent or we're going to get them out. It's pretty simple. If there's red flags, of course, we're going to go check the red flags, but we're not going to dive deeper into analytics and therapist talk and how do we help them? No, we don't. That's not what we're there for.
Exactly.
So I think Ireland's hit it on the head where under property management, there's a lot of other different careers or licenses that kind of just, it's like the little spider web effect. We're all intertwined. But I think the reason for this podcast and the reason that I wanted to be so real is because these conversations that I'm having lately are a little weird. Like they really believe that because you're a property manager and that you are in charge of the resident that is in their property, that all of a sudden we take on all these different hats.
Yeah.
And we don't. And we shouldn't.
Absolutely.
We shouldn't.
You wouldn't trust your car salesman to change your oil.
Correct.
And you wouldn't trust your oil guy to wash your car. And you wouldn't trust your car washer to put gas in your car. But it all has to do with your car. And I think it's the same thing with the house. You wouldn't necessarily trust your realtor to change out the toilet. But you wouldn't trust the guy who changed out the toilet to help you with your HOA violations. So it's all really important to know that everything can happen cohesively and can coexist. But it's a lot of working together, not working with one singular person.
And to summarize is be nice to your property manager. When your unit floods and there's an insurance, they'll work with you, but don't expect them to be, the insurance adjuster or all the other things that we've talked about. Yeah. And as long as, you're working with respect with the property manager, they certainly can help lead you in the right direction. I know we've done that a lot, but just don't think that they are the everything to everything.
Absolutely. I think the best way to look at it as every single property manager will do their best to be the best at their job, and then they should also have really great recommendations. So I think that's also a really telltale sign is if you say, hey, I'm looking to change homeowners insurance. Do you have a recommendation of an insurance person? They should have one. They should have vendor recommendations. They should have home inspector recommendations. And that's, I think, going to be a really good sign to tell if you're working with someone good is not that they're willing to take everything on because they may not take it on very well, but that they're willing to point you in the direction of someone who can take it on really well for you.
Amen to that, Ireland. Great ending. All right, you've been listening to Thoughts for Rent, hosted by Ireland and Jenny. And if you like what you're hearing and you feel like we know what we're doing, share it with a friend. We would love that. Or subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of the real talk that we do. Oh, yeah. So Thoughts for Rent, realtors keeping it real. Hopefully that you'll tune in next week.
Till next time, guys. Bye.
Oh, there you go. Sound good? Okay, good. I'll pass over to Ireland. Here you go, Kim.
Thanks, Pops.